Hi, and welcome everyone. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Sunday, July 18th, 2021, and today's topic is called Lavender Sky Panther, The Covers 2. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening over the course of shows number 67 through 101, which will air today on the heels of this show. And basically looking at all kinds of strange phenomenon and just wondrous things happening in the skies overhead lately. Before we get into those, I'd like to say good day, osio, how, buongiorno, guten tag, kia ora, jambo, kedu, buenos dias, bonjour, ni hao, dzień dobry, konnichiwa, dobro honya, annyeonghaseyo, boa tarde, dobry den, aloha winela, kalimera, guten dag, and good day. And today's starter image is a combination of the welcome page and the words, wisdom, and spirit of the day messages. Now, these will be coming from the Daily Crystal Inspiration deck and the Mystical Shaman Oracle decks, and I just draw these cards just with the intent of what might any of us need to hear today. And so hopefully something, whether it's a visual, something in the images speak to you, or a word or a phrase or something, maybe just something by looking at this inspires something in you. That's the intent of this, all in a upliftment spirit and intent. So what was interesting here was I only intended to take two cards, so one from the crystal deck and one from the mystical shaman oracle deck. And what happened was I did get three pop out, and then I had a fourth one that I was going to put at the end of the show. But when I looked at these, they all seem to relate. As you can see, black kyanite, the messages, set strong boundaries, and look at the shape of this thing. I could not help but see, resemblance here with the kind of partially splayed wing of this eagle coming down, and also even the coloration and the character of it just felt very similar. And then, if you notice, this eagle is either hovering over or about to land on this black orb, which we have here, more or less black-brown in color, hematite, which is to ground yourself, which is interesting because this eagle is coming in down either to ground, or it looks like it's almost, in that moment where it's trying to draw up these flames or energy and just really connect with that power. And then we go down here to the sweat lodge, which also looks like this black or deep, burnt umber, brown, black orb. And also it's got like this fiery feel to it around the perimeter, noting that there's just such power held and suspended in between. And so they all seem to relate is my point. So I just put them all together. So I'm not going to belabor any one point. I invite you to go ahead and research, when you have a moment, a little bit more about the properties, the healing properties, and other, spiritual meanings behind black kyanite and also hematite. Now, as always, when I talk about stones and crystals, even if it's like a river rock or beach rock or pebble, just go with, if you're going to select any, just go with what calls to you. Not necessarily if someone says, oh, hematite says ground yourself, or black kyanite says set strong boundaries, because each one has inherent properties that are also very, let's just say, ethereal, or just something you can't quite put your hand or your finger on. But if there are frequencies in any of these things, even, again, if it's just a rock out in nature that you happen to find, there are frequencies inherent to them, and you'll know which ones kind of best align with your own body and your heart space and the frequency of your heart space. So, for example, hematite, I am not drawn to that at all whatsoever. And in this case, black kyanite, probably also not. I'm just not drawn toward the black stones so much. Other people swear by them and love them for protection and other things. So again, go within and see what works for you. Now, on that go within theme, we're looking at the sweat lodge, and it's just very interesting here because I have not ever experienced one, so I'm not going to go elaborate on that. I invite you to look up what goes on with the sweat lodge, and especially look it up from a Native American perspective. If you're going to do an internet search, don't just go with whatever pops up on the top of the feed. Look up Native American meanings for it. But anyway, it is, from my limited understanding, a place you go in. It's heated a little bit like a sauna in terms of the character, and you go in for purification or to detox the body, basically sweat it out and maybe receive some visions. It can be used as a pre-ceremony or ceremony in and of itself to go in and do this. Now, what's interesting too is here it looks like we have an eagle flying off, and that relates to the eagle here. We have this greenish orb, which relates to the greenish color above. There's just so much similar in this card. I just invite you to really kind of look at that and feel it out and see if there are any other messages that are, calling to you. Now this bright light, I'll wrap it up with this bright white light. Kind of reminds me of the white cap here on this bald eagle. And it just symbolizes, we're here very grounded below, and the capacity for us to connect, high above into the crown chakra and far beyond. The numbers here, 16 and 54, there are a ton of meanings, spiritual meanings behind numbers. And if you look at my previous show, I have the link there, actually typed into the Spirit of the Day page. Go have a look at angel numbers, Joanne Sacred Scribes. Just look that up and then type in the number behind it, and you'll get a whole host of very positive and interesting meanings for the numbers. Anyway, let's get into the show. Now, it does say the covers, so I'm including this cover is show 67 in the lower right-hand corner. You're going to see the numbers, so that's the number of each show. And I'm just showing you the covers today. So this is a recap of some of the covers from 1 through 66. And now this is the 67th show, had all of the covers. And now we're going to go and look at shows 68 through 101, just the covers. So I'm just going to touch on them, each of them lightly. I do invite you to go look at my previous shows to get the in-depth version of why I'm doing this and what I'm looking at and how and why. I'm not going to rehash that today. I'm just strictly going to go through all the covers of the shows, actually, from 68 to 101, I guess. No, 67 to 101, sorry. And just kind of touch on the highlights, because the cover kind of encapsulates or summarizes the highlights of each show in and of itself. So we're getting the highlights of the highlights, so to speak. So let's get going. Actually, sorry, I got to step back. So here we have a sky sweep, and that show was talking about air elementals or sky wisps that seem to enter on the scene. They seem very supernatural, and a lot of times they seem to do like clean up on aisle 1, as we would say in America, as a little joke when somebody spills something on an aisle, like in a bigger department store, that's the intercom calling for someone to come and clean it up. In this case, these things kind of do a cleanup on aisle everywhere in the sky. It's very interesting. And over here, too, this kind of started to look like a craft with intelligent design to it, swooping up in companion and tandem with this thing. In this next scene, we have, I think this one was just called Cloaked. The title got cut off, but very strange looking object with it. Looked like it had, this is connected to it with cables. Either it's towing this thing or it's like an anglerfish situation where this thing is attached and doing something, taking readings out ahead. We even have a sphere with like a little sphere within it, like an indentation. And then we have a pure triangle. So I'm not even going to pretend to know exactly what's going on. I just threw out a couple of possibilities. There's something even like cylindrical in form here. So I just am saying all of this is cloak and craft. What they're doing and what their relationship is in and amongst themselves, I can only put out, some things that I think are possibilities. Like, the triangle could be a sensor or some type of instrumentation taking readings. This can be some little companion craft, who knows. Now, to the right here, we have Look at the Sky, and this was one of those situations where the color and character of the sky just had a wondrous, awe-inspiring feel to it. It felt very good, too, so it wasn't anything negative, but such an extraordinary color range. Sky imprints and objects down here is the concept of these craft that are perching on the silhouette or the profile of clouds. And a lot of times I've been catching them as they morph and change, coming and going on the rim of these things. And there's another show called Rim Watching 2 in the previous set, from 1 up until the 67th show, where I cover that in detail. So here we have like a craft, another craft, and little things coming off of it. And I even observed this kind of going away and these things going off in a different direction. Very slowly. You got to really be patient with some of these things when you're observing. If you don't know this already, if you're not observing the skies intently. Which I do invite you to do, by the way, and I say it in every show. If you're not doing it already, please go out 2 to 5 minutes every single day and just take a 360-degree look around you and just notice different patterns, shapes of clouds, things that just feel odd in your gut level, your most intuitive sense. If just something feels weird in the sky, if you have a handheld device on you, take a photo of it, take several, and then just go in and look at them later, and you might find some very interesting things. When I'm looking at all of these photos too, just so you know, I take original photos and then I enhance them. So these are all product of my enhancing the original photos. And I always include the original in the show so you can see side by side what it looked like when I just observed it in nature, and then what I'm seeing, what I saw then, and I can better present when I enhance the photo. Enhancement means I just take the photo and I simply edit attributes of it, such as the color saturation, the brightness, the contrast, things of that nature. And the only thing I might add in ever is just little letters I'll drop in to better highlight what I'm looking at. Like over here I have 8.4. I just tag them to call out highlights in a photo, or I might put a little screening box for somebody's privacy, like if it's a license plate or a street number, that type of thing. All right, let's keep going. So winter solstice 2020 is pretty self-explanatory, just looking east. And we're just looking at weird things that look like cloak and craft, or something that is not natural cloud, because things don't form like this all in the same vicinity. And that's what I was finding time and time again. And things that have intelligent design. This has like perfect semicircles here. When we look to the right, this is another example. This is not a natural cloud formation. This has like a tube-like appearance with openings at the ends. Then we go down here to the lower left, and we have this thing. I was actually driving and I pulled over because I saw it. We have a level, it's a little chopped off. You'll have to go look at the show itself, called Skywatch On. But we have a level cloud, and then this roundish form just looks like it's coming out of the sky. And like this thing has three things rising up to meet it. I don't think they're combative. I think it's like receiving to catch it. But you see a clear, trail coming in behind this thing that is of different color, quality, and nature than anything around it. That was very interesting. And then we got to look too at movement. When you have something dead level and then something come in a sharp angle or go up or burst out, you got to notice that's just not normal cloud activity. I'm doing most of the observations over the skies of Miami, where for several decades in the past we would just have puffy white cumulus clouds moving predictably along. Occasionally they might well up and turn into like a thunderhead with a flat top anvil shape on the top, but never have we seen formations that we've been seeing lately, and you'll see that in all of my previous shows. Now the center one is called Rim Watching 2, and that's what I was talking about. This one, this is a profile of a cloud. I did extreme enhancement on it just to highlight certain things in the show, mainly that this is a craft coming out of it, and in the show it's very clear. So we've got a sharp edge, clear clean edge here and here. We have a little thing up here. So this looks like the bow or the front of a little craft where somebody would be sitting in here controlling it. That's what I see, and again, it's really evident in that show. Sky Candy at the lower lower right-hand corner here, was just, I was fueling up the car at a gas station, and I was looking out up into the sky, and I noticed this extraordinary pinkish tone color, which is really odd because there was a frayed artificial cloud activity happening right below it, and it didn't have that color, even though it should have by rights with light physics. So then I took it and enhanced it, and then you can see what came up. So not only did we get this extraordinary color, there's like this supernatural white film coming down over it. These little things are just birds. I did observe those flying by. Whole lot of strangeness going on in there. I highly recommend, of course, any of my previous shows, but in particular these. All right, so let's keep going. So now we're entering into the new covers, again going from show now 68 through 101. And so I won't belabor too much on any one, just since you can go back and take, sorry, my voice is a little choppy today. You can go, excuse me, hang on. Okay, I'm back. Simply because you can go and look at any one of these shows to get more information. So this one, the leading thing, the highlight that struck my attention was just some of these strange shapes, very level edge down here, triangular form. This looks like a trail is coming off of this thing. Other little triangular shapes and oddities happening all over the place. And also, we've got a burst of 3 parallel lines coming off the leading edge of this thing. This whole cloud thing look very artificial. You can also, detect other strange shapes like the head of a spade or a shovel, and this is like trumpet-like thing coming off of it. There's just a lot of bizarre activity, and also this kind of cutout and the way this overall thing was formed did not seem in any way, shape, or form literally natural. All right, then we get Sky Cameo, and this is a very intriguing show. So the upper left-hand corner is the original, and the more I, put it in just to some basic enhancement down below, this is what popped up immediately. So not only did I see bursts of energy coming off of this very strange shape, and the stick-like thing coming off here, it also looks like a, either a square or a diamond-shaped thing with solidity to it, like a craft just, pushing up out of this thing. Also down here, it's a little blown out, but it looked like triangular in form. And then as I just put some simple enhancement, again, just upping or lowering contrast, brightness, and color saturation, this form popped out, and I couldn't help but see. It looks like an alien to me. It looks like like a downturned triangular shape with the eyes, what would be slits for the nose and the mouth, and the chin down here, if you see it too. A long neck coming down to a collared robe, and a hand, coming up, and it looks like it's holding an orb, or like like someone would hold an apple. And it looks like he's peering out of this window opening that portal just cut up, and opened up out of the sky. So it's really wild. So I increased, the size over here on the right. It got a little bit mappy, but on a smaller device you might see it more clearly. So anyway, you might see that little figure in any one of those views. And then that's actually the only time I've seen such a thing in the clouds, by the way. All right, this one's just called Sky Rides, and what was really interesting is how we have this straight angle, right? Pure straight line, pretty much, with another form here emerging, going along that vein. And then the different color signature just bursting just here, nowhere else. And if it is bursting beyond, which we see little flecks and things of it, evidence of it beyond, it's being masked by something else, coming in front to try to, I believe, camouflage and hide that. Now, in every single show, including this one, I do put it in the description box below. Have a look there of what could be causing such a light. Now, in this case, I think it is local, and I think there is some type of craft activity generating this locally. Now, is it an ET, advanced tech, extraterrestrial made type thing? Is this a supernatural phenomenon? I'm not sure. I don't believe it's man-made or military made or collaborated with ET, because the nature of it just felt so different too that I don't think, no offense to us humans, but I just don't think we're capable of pulling that off right now. Anyway, let's keep going. And so then we have sky tracks. Just these look like two parallel, very distinct parallel movements in the sky, with very strange things happening in and around them each. And the coloration was very interesting here too, because we get this rust color coming straight across, and yet it doesn't seem to be affecting anything else. And then we've got, blue sky beyond there, and then white down here and glaring stuff here, with heavy camouflage up here with strange things happening in it. That was a very intriguing show as well. Sky Speak, we have this overall form I saw in the sky. This looks very trumpet-like happening here, with something attached to it. It's very bizarre, this overall thing. It almost even looks like a craft with like a turret and a gun coming off of it, like the old World War II style kind of things, tech. But anyway, it had a very strange form in and of its own right. Strange activity happening right beyond it. Things look like they're cloaking in the sky. Strange movement coming down here, and color signatures. We get reds up here, but really kind of in an odd pattern with light physics. It didn't make sense where the red was popping up and where it was not. We have these two concentric arcs, or curves, one over the other with a little bit of a clear delineation line. Just look like cloak and craft happening here, and in many other places. So that was a very interesting show too, as I'll say they all are. But anyway, this is called Sky Capades, and what was interesting here is the how low in altitude these things are traveling, that they're on angle and they're all parallel to each other, even this, and they're all very different shapes, and this even becomes a triangular form. And so that's just not natural cloud in any, again, natural cloud system that I've witnessed on this planet in the past several decades. And so I've just been seeing these weird things, artificial creations popping up, especially in the last 3 years. But I believe they've been, happening probably, maybe they even started in 2014-ish, I'm not sure. I just started really noticing them in the last 3 to 5 years. But anyway, natural clouds wouldn't do this, and they wouldn't be this low and have this kind of ragtag character, and not, more tightly formed as old cumulus clouds of yore were formed. And we even get something that looks like cloak and craft, busting out of this thing, and little things, appendages with straight, like bridge-like elements. It just was really strange. Then this is an alternate cover just for that show. I decided to throw that in here too, just because this was the nature of what was going on in the sky that day. And the previous shot we were looking to the west, this one's looking to the east. And look at this, it's like an array of these things. They look like each individual, totally different character from one another. And they were traveling in a group, pretty much keeping this spacing and holding this pattern across the sky. So of course that caught my attention. It's really bizarre. This starts to look like a craft with actually designed elements. This one too even looks like a pipe with openings and maybe, craft body below it. Anyway, very weird stuff, but I called all of this individual cloaking craft in here. Now we have Skyward, and this was just extraordinary. We have, it has a star-like quality, like a five-pointed star at the top of this thing. We have a clear triangular form, elongated triangular, form, like jagged things. In a regular cloud system, you just wouldn't have a burst of energy this way, very specific, going one way, and the other one going an opposing way. Just, kind of erupting very low in the atmosphere, extremely low in the atmosphere. So that, of course, caught my attention. There's a triangular imprint, a sky imprint in here. Look at my previous shows for what I'm talking about there if you're not familiar with that term. And then there's just weird little things. It's like an object with a little trail coming in behind it. And there was enough oddity in here to really explore that in the show. This is called Sky Signs. This is evidence of an artificial sun or solar simulator. Have a look at my previous shows on that as well. Look up solar simulator. Their patents pulled. Applied for and pulled in the 1960s, just showing artificial tech up in the sky that is masking out in many ways, or redirecting attention from the original sun in many different ways. And these red things, red pink signatures, are what would be called petals around the array, around this kind of solar tech that's up in the sky. So do have a look at my previous shows for my thoughts on that as well. And then beyond that strangeness, the white glaring intensity of what can't be an original sun, which was always yellow, golden, and not so harsh on the eye, even in the middle of the day, like it is now. Then we have these strange little objects. Looks like things are cloaking because they're very square or rectangular-like. And other little weird things. If you watch my cursor, we're going on. It looks like a little trail, like something's flying up out of this cluster as well, and down here too. All right, this one's Skyborn, and I think this one speaks for itself. I was looking at the clouds, quote-unquote clouds, which must be artificial cloaking material, which I refer to as plasma. Just means something denser or heavier than water vapor that can linger in the sky for a long time and do a great job at cloaking things. That's just my go-to to call it that until I know more specifically what it might be. But here we have a triangular shape, no question about it. And then here we have a pure crescent going vertical. We have this thing shooting up vertical, and then bam, we go to a true horizontal with this form. So that can't be a natural cloud. I would love for anyone to explain to me how that's a natural cloud formation. These are individual pieces with different movements, doing their own thing. Also, we get these really bright white points, and sometimes on these clouds, clouds in quotes I say because I'm referring to that as being an artificial cloud or cloaking material for craft. When I see these bright white points, especially when they're amidst a darker color background, whether it has a color signature to it or if it's just like a gray wash, that usually means there's something cloaking in there. It's popping out a little bit, or those are little individual objects in and of themselves. It depends on the overall, conditions, specific conditions in any given sky that I'm looking at in the photos. But have a look into that too when I talk about that. This is Sky So Fly. This was very hard to pull out and detect. It's a little grainy because it was later in the evening and my old camera phone that I take all of these pictures on could only handle so much. It does a great job though. But we just see like a brighter white intensity on this thing. Looks like it's shrouded or like different type of plasma or substance is wafting in front of it. And then it, trickles down here, and then we get a red rust signature, and this was looking to true north. And then it looks like we have some other kind of movement. Another object might be back in the background. And actually it just had a very poetic feel to the movement of this thing. Then we have Skyfall and show number 78. And we have this thing emerging with this strange trail with the same color signature coming right across to it, even though all of this is really similar in altitude and everything, and it's getting none of that color. And then we get golden toward the bottom, and this was looking south. And so we've got the day kind of coming up here on the left to the east, but then this is all happening to the west. It was very odd. Okay, Sky Shine, the original photos down here next to my little logo. And this was just really blowing out some of the enhancements to really get at what's going on here at the quote-unquote sun. and what turned out to be very interesting. And you can even detect it with the trained, practiced eye. If you do this enough and go out and just look every day and notice patterns, you start to really get good at looking at colors too, especially when there's a weird haze that looks very artificial, kind of interfering with what we see in the sky. But here we have this darker signature happening around it, and there are even these things like splaying off this way. So, you know, and then we get that red signature coming down here. So we are looking at a horizon and some landforms here out in the bay in Biscayne Bay. I believe this was Biscayne Bay. This came in from a Lavender Sky Panther viewer. Anyway, off the coast of Florida, South Florida. And so what I think is happening is we're getting that red-pink signature is the phenomenon that I described in the description box below. That we're seeing evidence of that. And then this also may be that there's a bigger planetary body that's, you know, creating this shadow, you know, beyond this thing. And then we have the artificial sun tech that usually, you know, can expand and glare out so bright that you wouldn't even see any detection of this other body behind. Now, why do I say that? Because this thing is very symmetrical. Look at the way this flares off and this flares off. It's almost identical, like you could mirror that, you know, down a center line. So something is going on. All right, this is called sky shifting, and this was interesting because I was looking off to the west, and I just noticed this strange, you know, stuff emerging, this brighter glaring source. Again, I'm going to put sun in quotes because I do think it's artificial tech or evidence of artificial tech at work that we're seeing with the shine of this. But, you know, we see a very clear curve edge, like a rim of something, and something else here. So this looks like an object, and it had a lot of different weird kind of tufted energy, like very disturbed energy behind this thing. Looked like it was kind of coming in front of this quote-unquote sun. We also get a weird hard edge here, diagonal, level, diagonal. It's going back up. So it's almost looking like a, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, maybe a big hexagon back there, like an opening. And look at these weird straight lines. Look at their parallel. You know, this is too rigid of geometry to be an accident. You know, we see the back edge of this diagonal, so that's a triangular form. Something is going on in front of the sun to mask and hide what's going on with the artificial look to it. What these things are, what they're doing, I have no idea. All right, this is called Sky Stumpers, and this was just a scene. It almost looks like an abstract painting at this kind of level of enhancement. But I wanted to really show that we've got a pure triangular form here, and again, it looks like it is a vapor trail, like this thing just zoomed in here. Extremely slow-mo, or it just showed up interdimensionally, and that's the trail, like a snapshot in time, frozen in time, that we see the moment that it just appears. Then we have these weird little objects, you know, there's just a lot of strangeness. And then we get these bright white hot spots that have form to them. In here, it looks like a triangular form, a round form, amidst all of this color. So it just didn't make sense. And then we've got this trail effect coming in here, a shape here. Just a lot of very interesting things are happening in that one. Then we have sky drifting. This is a very unusual pattern. Just, you know, one morning looking at it in the sky, looking to the south. So I just talk about what could be going on to create such a thing. And then there's these darker things that look like cloak and craft of different character coming in horizontal as we have all of this bursting out this way. Anyway, check that show out if you have a chance. Sky Freestyle. This was very interesting with enhancement. Not only do we see these shapes that kind of, they all have a similar character and feel to them, and they even have like what looks like trails coming in behind them. So I'm calling these things cloak and craft for sure. But then we also have this weird line. Now, is that a chemical trail created by some type of human craft? Or is something else, a cloak and craft, like shooting at this thing, or this thing's shooting upward? Or is it just some type of cord and these two things are connected? A lot of weird interplay is going on here. And again, I have no idea what exactly is going on, but I do throw out several theories that I have of what could be going on. And as always, pardon that, as always, I guess that's a little cue to plug in. So as always, sorry for the noise, I invite you to see what you think and, you know, take your impression off of any one of these photos and just what do you think? What do you feel, rather, is going on in any one of these scenes? With any of these, I did not feel any negative. I didn't get any negative impression. If anything, it was just like neutral, like whatever this is, and any of these shots, photos that I'm showing you, whatever's going on, if I had a negative feeling, I would not have been out there taking pictures of it. I would have like run back inside and I would say, hey, this had a really bad vibe. So for now, I just think it's neutral. And as I've said in other shows, I think whatever is going on in the skies, there's definitely cloak and craft. There's even battle going on, as you'll see in some of my other shows. I have evidence of that too coming up. But whatever that is, I still have a feeling like that's kind of independent of us down here, us humans, for now, and that we don't need to be alarmed, just observant of what's going on. Okay, now this is called sky scenery, and this is just bizarre. I mean, how do I look up at the sky and not find this very odd? This is looking to the west, and this is one of those backlighting situations that I love, looking to the west of the sunset. When we have a hazy sky, but what I still am calling artificial sun effect is shining from behind, backlighting things. And I saw these weird gray, smoky gray tracings. The original photo is worth looking at. And with enhancement, it really popped out. Like even the gray tracings in the original, I could see the strangeness. So then with enhancement, it became really evident that this looks like a craft with a big trail behind it and a separate craft maybe going this way, another little thing diving down this way. We have a clear curve here. This may be a cloaking craft or an edge of one. This actually whole thing might be the edge of one popping out. And then these little things, they're doing their own thing as well. So are these independent pieces? Is it all part of one bigger thing and we're just seeing little bits and pieces popping out? I'll leave that to you. Again, see for yourself what you think is going on. But then here, too, we get these parallel lines doing their own little weird thing. I think that's a separate craft with a very different type of cloaking mechanism on it. Again, see what you think. This is called Sky Flyby, and this thing was just coming across very level, and even to the naked eye, I could see this walnut shape or lemon-shaped object. Not clear. I couldn't see clear metal. It still had cloaking, looked very like had like a shade or uniform color cast over it that looked kind of like cloud, but I could make out the shape. It was darker. I could detect it. Looks like there's a triangular form, hitchhiking on the back of this thing or integral as part of this thing. But you can see here when I'm talking about plasma, it looks like this other substance wafts in front of this more solid object. And then we go down here and we see a triangular form at B.1 and another one at C.1. So to me, that's cloaking craft, at least three pieces or three different cloaking craft in there. Or this could be the tip of a bigger craft because there are little white points popping up out of here. Or, there could be many more craft in this overall thing. Anyway, have a check that out if you can. Then we have this, hang on. Okay, I'm back. Then we have this really fun show. This is a whole series of really exciting images coming in from a Lavender Sky Panther viewer, very kind, named Yowie Growls. And Yowie Growls was capturing a ton of stuff in the eastern Australian skies. And so this show was dedicated to what was found there. And as you can see, this very intriguing shape popped up. And then we get these weird, like, vase-like things with an opening, on something else and a parallel tube to it happening up beyond, and then we have this triangular form in the background. So put question marks everywhere because this one really stumped me. I have no idea what some of these things we're doing and their proximities to each other. And again, what's their relationship? It's see what if you have any interesting angles. And as I always say, I invite everyone, if you just have some very either logical based reasons of what that could be or just fun and fantastical fantasy based things of what could these things be, feel free to leave them in the comment section below if you like. All right, now this one is on to OVNIs or UFOs, SoFlo Night Vision Infrared Edition. So I got my hands on some infrared night vision binoculars, and I was testing those out. So this is just a coconut tree. It was my test subject. Since it stands still, it doesn't move. I did capture a video, which is actually the only episode where I include a video clip of a UFO. It was very high up in altitude in the sky, and I first noticed it only because I had the infrared turned on the night vision binoculars. And I caught it, and I wouldn't have caught it. I wouldn't have seen it flashing without them. And it was really high up in altitude looking at the northwest part of the sky. And then I observed it as it traveled all the way over to the southeast part of the sky. And I know for sure it was not a man-made craft in the terms of a plane or a helicopter. It was way too high. It was not a satellite. I know what those look like. And it was not the space station. And so anyway, it was something else that we call UFO. And explain what OVNI is the abbreviation in Spanish and French. All right, now this is called Universe, One Song, One Love Note. And I literally saw this shape in the sky. This is exactly how it was. This is an enhanced version, so you see it more clearly. But that is exactly what presented in the sky all by itself. And I made the commentary that it looks like an eighth note, perfect eighth note. And the only thing is it's reversed, it's mirrored. So my little thing was maybe whoever was creating this is sending a little love note or a little happy note for the day, but from the other perspective, and maybe they didn't realize they are, looking at it from their perspective and that we would see it mirrored. That's my little guess. But regardless, even if it's not an eighth note, maybe it's the perimeter cloak of something else happening, because this is a pretty much very near right angle. It's a little bit acute, but it's nearly near right angle. And so this could be the edge of an imprint of some craft. But otherwise, for now, I saw the eighth note and I thought it was really pretty funny. And I do like music, so it was apropos. But anyway, here we have other kind of strange movement and color signature with like trails coming behind it. So different from this. So regardless, we have strangeness, we have a puzzle to solve or curiosity to wonder about in that scene. Okay, now this is called Skycraft Crystal Palette, and I'm talking about the color palette range happening in here is very diverse. We go from gold to rust, rust reds, blues, greens. But in this one, look at this. This is a craft with cloaking material around it. There's no other way to look at it. And the size is such that I believe this is of ET origin, not just man-made. And then we have this kind of thing cloaking in a weird way in a triangular shape, or it's independent little craft pieces or object pieces arranging themselves in an overall triangle with cloaking material on them. This is something that looks interdimensional coming in now. It was really strange. It's like an overlay onto the whole scene, but still looks like it has intelligent design in there. In fact, this even looks like a fattened teardrop or a raindrop in the middle. And then there was also stuff going on here. We have a very clear straight line here. It's a symmetrical, perfect, almost perfect, I would say, equilateral triangle with a little mini triangle up here. So I'm saying there's craft all over the place in here, cloaking, with beautiful colors to boot. Then we have this really kind of the showstopper is the dimension-dipping dragon in flight. Now I rounded the corner to catch the beautiful colors I saw opening up in the sky, and bam, this was in my face, and I just instinctively, it came out of my mouth, oh my God, that's a sky dragon. Now take that what you will, whatever that is, to you, but this little smudge out is what I would see as the head, and then that would be one long expanse of wing and the other wing, and that the body and the legs, hanging down this way, and the tail even has like a little upturn, to it, so, or back turn. So to me, that's a dragon coming in and out of dimension or something, or it's just a cloak and craft outright, because there is nothing, and I repeat, nothing in nature, natural cloud forms that would do this, especially with an equidistant like wingspan. There really isn't. So if you think there is, great. Let me know in the comment section below. But also the strangeness surrounding it shows me that that was something of intelligent design, or in some cases, as I've said in other shows, I'm suspecting we are seeing glimpses of bioorganisms, like, living things that are just in and out, crossing in dimension. And I do believe that's possible. In this case, this one I believe popped in for a moment and then popped back out. Anyway, that's a highly recommended show by me. Now this is called Phoenix Solar, in quotes, Flyby. And in this one, it was the impression, the way the clouds, again, cloud in quotes, because I believe there was a whole bunch of cloak and craft activity going on in here. This looked like a big, massive phoenix diving down with the wings upward, and this would be the beak and the head, if you follow my cursor, the chest here, and like the trail of the plumage, behind on fire. That's what I was seeing. Like this thing just dove down, and it was crossing across the quote-unquote sun, which had a very white artificial feel to it, even a hot spot here of white-blue glare out. And then down here, the golden material is what I say is the evidence of our original sun shining through, and that this glare out is trying to totally mask that out. Anyway, a lot of interesting things here. We have an exact straight edge here again. Looks like a triangle form, kind of cloaking. We have a curved form here happening in there. So much is going on. Have a look there too if you have the time. Now this one was really exciting and a really fun show. Probably one of my most fun shows because it was such a surprise to me. It's called Lightning in Quotes Show Epic Backyard Night Craft Sky Battle. Because I started videoing, just again with my camera phone, lightning going on to the north. And the reason why I started videoing it is because it just happened, it just seemed to carry on forever with no thunder. and it just stayed stationary in one place. It didn't, come closer or go off into the distance for about 40 minutes. So that's very odd in and of itself. There should be some movement of the overall cloud system. And so I started, taking video of the flashes, and then I started to notice that this is looking true north. I started to notice it would flash to the north, and then I'd look to the west at another big, odd-looking cloud form or system, and then it seemed to flash in response to it. So the longer I looked, it was like a call over here, like in music there's call and response. There was a call over on one side, and then the response from the other one is what I was seeing. So then the more I looked in and just took the video footage later and looked inside, I'm like, what was going on here? And I just scrolled across and looked frame by frame. I started to see some incredible things unfolding, where you actually see shapes of craft, very clear shapes. And so this is an interplay between either two different craft, or this is one massive craft energizing itself. I don't know, there's a whole lot of highly exciting things to find in that show. So actually, I will say hands down, if you can't look at any of the other previous shows, do at least look at this one. All right, this is called Rise, Shine, Rain, Summer Solstice 2021. So now we're catching the Summer Solstice 2021 views. And these are just symbols. That's a universal symbol for ether or spirit. And then I just kind of recreated my own for air, water, fire, and earth for the elements. And then this was just extraordinary. I'll leave this to you to just look at the show to get more insights on that. All right, this is called Backlit and Bold Sky Show. And just again, look at this. This is looking to the west-northwest with a glare-out backlight situation where, again, I love those conditions, though, because we catch all kinds of strange things in the foreground. And we just see a lot of weird things in this one. Again, we've got the white glare-out of what I'm calling the artificial sun, or the tech, that's allowing this whole thing to mask out the more original sun with the golden hues in the background. What is this thing at B.1? I have no idea, but it is so strange and so clear and defined. And again, not cloud in there. It's too much of our hard edge doing its own thing to be a cloud. And this too. The characters of these things get very interesting with more examination. This one is just called What? It's show number 95. And this was looking off to the southwest as I was on the highway. Doing some errands and things, and look at this. We have this weird thing turning across here. This thing coming across level. Look at this twisting and springing up out of, like, literally so low on the horizon. It has to be like right on top of a building. It was really crazy. So a lot of high strangeness happening here. Triangular forms once again. Weird things look like they're cloaking. It was just that was actually really a bizarre scene. I have not seen anything like that in the course of doing all of these shows. This is called Dancing with the Sun, in quotes, and actually this got highly censored by YouTube for some reason. I didn't see anything really offensive in there, but they felt the need to lop off like 70, 80 views off the bat and decrease all of the likes from more than 6. They're not ever counting the true counts on these things, but all the way down to 1, which is, I find, pretty funny and impossible, because I had a friend like it and they removed the like. But anyway, there you go. But anyway, you might want to have a look at that one, because apparently something is alarming to them in there. But this is Cloak and Craft here, and it has, again, you see this clear edge, and you see smudgy stuff happening around, and you see these weird little trails. This little weird thing coming. This looks like it's detached up yet again, like a sphere. Very odd stuff, and very fun things to look at in that show. All right, this one I really love. This is called Cloud and Quotes Cruiser, and this actually vies for top billing of shows to see. If you can only see one show or two, please do see 2 and see this one. This was just truly one of those mind-expanding moments. I like to say mind-expanding, not mind-blowing, because when I knew this did have a craft shape, the original has a blue sky, and this is white in the foreground. But this was the result of watching this thing more for over 20 minutes, and it turned really weird, and I do have the whole sequence of that in the show. But what happened when I got to the finale of this was, holy goodness, holy smokes, this is a craft cloaking, because this is the telltale element right there that gives it away. That's a pure circle with shadow, with a hard-edged rim. It even looks like it has a logo or insignia. I go through many things of what that could be, and I invite you to guess what it might be as well. We have other circular elements echoing off, like it's, a band going around a craft, where this would be the deck or observation area with a big window. We even have an element symmetrical here sitting right in the middle. Looks like a conical form that pops out. The rest is symmetrical. We have these vent-like things, these grooves that are so perfect happening in the front of this thing, what I'm calling the front anyway. This looks like a wing of it, so I'm saying that this is the stern of the craft, this is the bow, and this would be the starboard to the right. I'm sorry, this would be the port side to the left if this is coming at us, and that would be starboard to the right. We even get like a cylinder here, pipe-like shape. There's just too much on this that looks like machine parts. It's a cloak and craft. I have no other words for it. So again, cloud is in quotes, just to cover that. I know it's artificial. I'm saying it's cloaking material. It's not a cloud, but it's supposed to be a cloud. That's why cloud in quotes. Now this is called Sky Skiffs in quotes, and Sky Skiffs Plus, because there's a whole lot more going on in this show. But the highlight of this one was that this looks like the bow of a boat or a ship again, like an open, skiff. And there's some weird object that's either flying in down to perch on the rim or dive into this like cauldron. It even has a cauldron feel of like this other like haze popping up out of it and energy. I mean, why would this be like a whiter, burst coming out, divided by this very clear line, from whatever's going on over here. And there's a really weird artificial feeling, huge, darker cloud form or system over here that also looked like this was just part of some massive craft cloaking. But have a look there if you're interested to see more about that. Now this is called Skies in Quotes Rising, and this was a very unique form, again springing up seemingly like out so low in the atmosphere it's not even funny. And then has this very artificial character because this too looks like wings, going vertical. We got weird burst of energy coming off of here, weird burst going the opposite direction, and this one fanning out straight. Almost looks like a fan coral, if you know corals. The whole thing actually has like the feel of the way the coral grows. But anyway, weird things popping up here vertical. Again, this is no natural cloud. You can't put a name on this from any of the natural, categorized clouds of the past decades. Then we get this weird smudge out, which to me shows there's cloak and craft, and it's like a vertical, not vertical. It's a tube going off in a straight line off at a different angle from all of this. And then we have little weird things happening beyond that have movement to them. I zoom in on this area. These are two little triangles zooming up this way in perpendicular opposition to this thing. So my theory is that things are coming and going out of this overall installation, and that mini craft, are coming and going, diving in and out of this. All right, anyway, see what you think on that. Now this is Curious Sky, and I have really not too many words for this other than, is this either, several pieces of cloak and craft where that's a triangular form, or two triangles, kind of adjoined, where that would be one triangle and that would be the other. That looks triangular in form. What is this, like ski or sleigh shaped thing? Sleigh rudder. And then what's going on here? Is this something that is just entering the atmosphere and is a cloak and craft that looks like the end of a cross or a sword? Or is this just like a landing strip that this thing then is launching this piece on and it's zooming up out of this thing? I don't know. We have little points here in a regularized pattern forming the edge of a triangle, and so this whole thing is one big enigma. The profile of the cloud activity in quotes happening down here, because it was all very artificial once again, has some distinct shapes in there too, so I think we have craft perching, along the top of there. See what you think though? Then we come to, this is just a summary of just my kind of favorite picks of the highlights of those shows from 67 to 100 here. This is 100th show. So anyway, those are my favorite picks. See which ones you would have put in there. Then this is going to be the upcoming show that's going to come on the heels of this one. And this is called Skies Humming. So like the sky is humming and full of activity. As you can see, this is a very odd shape, lone shape, and had weird echoings and trailings off the back. And then we have another shape, very distinct shape that looks like it's diving in this way with cloaking material around it. And something looks like it wants to emerge here that has symmetrical design to it, intelligent design. This is the enhanced version, so I will show both the original and the enhanced in that show. All right, well, this is the photo of the show and the close of the show. I'm sorry, photo of the day, not the photo of the show, but the photo of the day that I put in at the end. This is just an embroidered patch of a panther, a lavender colored panther. So anyway, thank you for looking up at things here a while with me, and I hope you're having a beautiful day or evening and a gorgeous now wherever you are. I wish you tremendous peace and love as always. Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.